International Media TV. Television that listens to you.
Thank you very much. This is indeed a great honor. My parents, my mother was white. Both of my parents are deceased, and my father was black. My father was in the military, and they met in the late 1940s when my mother saw a group of black soldiers trying to integrate a cafeteria in the military, and white officers, or white, not officers, soldiers, ran them out of there and called them the N-word. And my mother was appalled, mortified, and wanted the black soldiers to know that not all white people were like that. And that eventually led to a romance between the two of them. And in 1949, I was born in a segregated ward. Actually, I was born in a private room in a hospital in Denver, Colorado. Interracial marriage was illegal. There was segregation in 1949 in Denver, Colorado. And so my parents had been married in Cleveland, Ohio, where they could get married. And they didn't know what to do with my mother. They couldn't put her on the black ward. They wouldn't put her on the white ward. So she had her own room. My first and second grade for me were spent in segregated schools in Virginia, which actually turned out to be a very good thing because it gave me a nice, strong education. You younger people may not know, but back then things were so segregated that in black schools, we had the best and brightest teachers. So when my father, who stayed in the military, was transferred, when I went to third grade in Germany, I was way ahead of the class because I had an education that was vastly superior to most of my classmates. Years later, my father was in Fort Devens, Massachusetts, and that's when Louise Day Hicks was up to her nonsense in Boston, and the NAACP was protesting, and my parents made a point of taking me out of school to take me to Boston to be a part of the freedom schools the NAACP was holding. And then when I went to Indiana University, I was very much involved in the the mid-60s. I went there in 67 in the Black student movement, and I was part of the first cohort of students to go through the Black Studies program at Indiana University. Let me fast forward and say, well, I'll fast forward, but I'll jump back and make one point. Just so happens my birthday is 9/11. And that 9/11, I woke up in South Africa in a bed Nelson Mandela had slept in, thinking, wow, it doesn't get better than this. We were on a time difference, and it was much later I found out what was happening in New York City that day and in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania. But I used 9/11 to acknowledge that there's a lot of hate in the world and violence, and we see that all around us. But at the same time, there's hate and violence, there's love, and there's generosity, and there's goodness in people. And that's what I celebrate. Every year for my birthday, I acknowledge the ugliness and the hate and the violence, and I celebrate all that's good in humanity. And I celebrate, especially since I came to the Fillmore, I moved to the Fillmore in 2008, I celebrate music and I celebrate art. Art and music. Can you imagine a world without music and without art? What would that be like? So we have to hold our artists and our musicians up high. That's important in this city. That's what we did at the Jazz Heritage Center, and that's what I will personally do for the rest of my life. I would like very much to honor and acknowledge the musicians and the artists who came today, and if you'd stand, I would like to name you. I know John Handy is here. The Silver Fox is here. Peter Eller is here. Thomas Tandy is here. Bob Chang is here. Nancy Hom is here. And if I've overlooked anybody else, please forgive me. And one final statement, Eva, I hate to do this to you. My birthday is 9/11. I will be 65 this year, and thank you. And I'm celebrating my birthday at Yoshi San Francisco with Nicholas Beard, who's also a Virgo, and Alvon Johnson, who's also a Virgo. So come to dinner, come to the first set, come to the second set, or better yet, go to Eva's event, and then come to the after set with Alva at Yoshi's. So it's online at Yoshi's San Francisco. Thank you very much.